Bold move, Cotton. See if it pays off.
Uh, I've never heard that before.
Yeah, I'm sure, man.
Uh, all right. So, four bills were proposed, Senate bills in Virginia, all of which were just gun grabbing schemes. Um, and let's see, on Martin Luther King Day in Virginia, every year there's something called Lobby Day in Richmond, where various groups gather outside of the Capitol and defend their specific positions on policy and whatever garbage they're proposing. And every single year, the Virginia Citizens Defense League organizes a rally for Lobby Day. But because of these specific bills that have been proposed over the past year, uh, this Lobby Day was a bit different. Huge numbers were saying they were going to come, and they did. And I have here two people that actually went, Trigi and Bob, uh, and they're going to tell us a bit about their experience. But first, I want to ask each of you why y'all went. Bob, you can go first.
Well, we were just coming off the DC rally,
Yeah.
and Trigi started advertising that the Lobby Day rally was coming, and he wanted people to join in. And pretty much like a week after DC, I committed myself to going, mostly because I see my neighbors' rights being taken away, and if they can take my neighbors' rights, they can take my rights. So I'm going to help support anyone who is defending our rights.
All right, cool. What about you, Trigi?
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty similar for me. I mean, I'm in Virginia. I live in Virginia now. So obviously it was hit pretty close to home once the second the election was over. These people started proposing these bills. So I had met Bob out in DC for the first time, and all I'll say about him is he's not a Virginia native, so him coming out really meant a lot for both the DC rally and the Virginia rally. So we really appreciated him coming out. Yeah, I mean, this is where I live, and I had already run from New Jersey once to get away from this kind of legislation and these kind of bills, and I knew, I wasn't going to run again because it's just going to follow me wherever I go. That's just what's happening in this country now. So it really, I emailed them right after the election. I said, hey, maybe we can get. I emailed VCDL. Right after the election, and I was like, maybe we can get an armed rally going. That's when they said, hey, we do that every year anyway, so just come to the one we already have. I was like, oh, perfect. That's a lot less work for me to do that.
Yeah.
Turns out it wasn't much less work. I was working my ass off for the past few months, but it was good that there was already the framework there, and got me there and met a lot of great people along the way and really enjoyed it.
Cool. I was watching the news. I was flipping between MSNBC and CNN and Fox News, and of course they were talking about nothing. It was impeachment stuff and the royal family fallout, and so I had that going in the background. I had my eyes glued to Twitter the entire all of Monday, and it just looked like a good time. It looked like everybody was having a ton of fun.
Yeah. I mean, we were all because we were nervous about it at first because all the and things like that, but it turned out to be a great time. I mean, a guy on Instagram, Tac45, he brought out a Bluetooth speaker, and we were just jamming for a few hours too out there, man. We were having a great time.
Yeah, I saw that video of y'all singing.
I'm sorry for your ears then.
I don't know. When you get 50 plus people singing at once, it's not that bad. But I'm pretty sure I heard you cutting through the crowd.
Again, I'm sorry.
But yeah, I was really nervous about it. I was excited for it to happen and be over with, no matter what happened, whether it ended peacefully or I was worried about I was worried about some of the Antifa people that said they were going to come in support of the Second Amendment folk. I was worried about them throwing firecrackers or something out and causing a mess. But I'm incredibly glad that everything turned out the way it did. I think it's a lot better that it turned out peacefully versus something going horribly wrong.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely feel that way too, for sure. I mean, the what could have happened compared to what did happen. I mean, I think we had the best possible scenario that did happen.
Yeah. So when y'all were going, what did you expect to happen? What did you expect to see?
I expected to see a lot of people,
Yeah.
and I was going in there open-minded, not knowing what to expect, hoping for the best, but prepared for the worst. It sucked that it had to be like that. I feel like the governor pushed all that fear and all that worry upon everybody there when it should have been even more of a fun thing, more cooking out, and just we did what we did was just go out and had our message, set our message. And it's a shame that he had to bring up the security level and push it so far that we were on edge to begin with.
Yeah. And what about you,
Yeah, I
True
mean,
G?
I agree with everything Bob just said there. I mean, I was pretty worried in the beginning, without a doubt, because I did have a lot of contacts that were telling me things and stuff like that, and I could. It was getting to be such a big deal that it was almost like a magnet for something bad to happen, whether it was an agent provocateur or some kind of thing like that. I mean, so that I rolled in there. I mean, everybody I came with had excess medical gear in all their bags because we were worried about that. I mean, trauma kits and tourniquets left and right. I mean, they were everywhere. But once we actually got there and kind of settled in, at least like found our spot, we were gonna hang out. We met up with everybody and found our spot. It just kind of washed over me at once. I was like, oh man, this is gonna be fine. Nothing's gonna happen. I mean, everybody here is just so genuine and there's not even any sign of anything happen like that, which was kind of I was a little bit worried as well because somebody who was definitely a Fed approached me in the bar the night before and tried to goat me into encouraging something, an attack
Really?
happened. So but once I got there, I was like, no, this is going to turn out great. I'm not worried about this at all.
Yeah, and a large part of the problem for the worry of it being escalated to something horrible was the the governor declaring a state of emergency, and then directly in his state of emergency, he cited this includes extremist rhetoric similar to what has been seen before in major incidents such as Charlottesville in 2017. So the entire time there was an op to try to label y'all as white supremacists, which clearly isn't true. I mean, all the pictures of everybody there dispels that pretty quickly.
Yeah, I mean, those Black Panthers were definitely the worst white supremacists out there, man.
Yeah, absolutely. What was y'all's favorite part of the rally?
The guillotine was pretty good.
Yeah.
But for the most part, I just enjoyed being out there and interacting with the people. I was passing out stickers, striking up conversations with people we met along the way, both people that were in our smaller group and just people that were moving along that might have had different views overall, but we're all there to unite again for people's freedoms.
Cool.
Yeah, I can echo that sentiment. I mean, the number of people that you met there, and just how, because I didn't meet a single unpleasant person there.
Yeah.
Everybody that I met there was extremely courteous. They were kind, and they were all reaching out, and they understood why every single one of us was there. But even talking to some of the reporters too, I think the one that stuck out most to me was I talked to a guy from Wired magazine who was
Yeah.
talking about the social media influence on the event, and he was extremely open-minded. I mean, he was very professional, um, and he said off the bat, it was almost like a disclaimer. He's like, "Listen, guys, I mean, I'm I'm definitely more liberal when it comes to gun rights than you guys are, but I really want to hear about this, and I'm they sent me out to Knob Creek Gun Range before to cover some of that, and it was a great time." And he's talking about how he enjoyed firing these kind of machine guns and stuff like that. So he was extremely open-minded, extremely professional, and he just laid everything out right off the bat and was totally genuine with the questions he was asking. So I think, again, he was one of the great people I met there, and he wasn't there for the same reason we were there. He was there to cover the reason we were there, but um, he was very genuine. So everybody there that I had the pleasure of talking to were just some phenomenal people.
Yeah, it looked like it. A while back, it was, I guess, 2018. I went with my friend to a Trump rally. He's a big Trump guy, and I thought it'd be an interesting people watching expedition. Um, and I gotta tell you, when I was there, the people were not very nice. This was in Panama City, Florida. The people were just not very nice. Contrast that to, in the same year, I went to a Mises event in New Orleans, and I saw one of the craziest things I think I'll ever see in a very, very formal setting. There was a photographer had a joint fall out. He had in his ear, like a pencil. It fell off, and then one of the Mises organizers picked it up and said, "Hey man, you dropped this." And the photographer's dressed like a hippie hobo, and the three-piece suit organizer just picked it up and was like, "Hey man, you dropped this." And I got to say that people in the libertarian movement have just been some of the nicest people I've ever met in my life. Some of the nicest, most well put together people. Uh, and I can totally understand. Is there anything at the rally that surprised y'all?
Why don't you start, Bob?
I can't say that anything really surprised me other than the guy in the shorty shorts.
Yeah.
I mean, I went in with a really open mind. Everyone was a little concerned on just something as little as fireworks turning it into a bad time.
Yeah.
But I also knew the community was going to actually act like that. I knew we were going there to be peaceful. I know the majority of people's their intentions were genuine. And as long as we could keep the couple little agitators out of the way, that we would have no problems.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, again, he's beat me to all this stuff. I mean, I think that was most of it. I think the biggest thing that surprised me though was some of the feelings I felt while I was there, because it's like it's a different kind of day. So if I were walking through Richmond any other day with an AR slung across my chest and a plate carrier,
Yeah.
it would be like the police would be called on me in a second, right? But that day, when there were so many like-minded people there, I was walking down the middle of a city street, like on the double yellow line, with a group of 40 guys who have the same weapons that I do behind me, just down the middle of the street, and it was just fine. And that was just such a surreal feeling. So honestly, I think that feeling was the biggest surprise to me, because that's not something you see. That's not something that like, for one, many people don't get to do that. So it wasn't like, and I'm not saying it was like a feeling like, oh, I feel so powerful. It was just, it was cool to have a day where that was socially acceptable to a degree. So, and just having that be, I mean, technically it's allowed all the time, but I mean, having it be allowed and there being no repercussions for doing it.
Yeah. There's something I'm a bit unclear on. I was told that there was a specific cutoff time when the lobby day people were supposed to disperse. And when that cutoff time happened, I noticed all of the updates on Twitter of the event just stopped. And that was the point on Monday when I was a bit worried because I was thinking, okay, everybody's supposed to disperse. That's a lot of people. I know the number being thrown around is 25,000. And I was thinking if anything was going to happen that was bad at this event, it was going to happen at that moment. Uh, am I mistaken with that, or was that something that was actually established?
Yeah, for lobby day, it was technically, I think the timing was 8 a.m. To 12 p.m. I think that was the official time of it.
Yeah.
But I mean, they started opening up the roads, I think, around 2 o'clock again. So they were slowly telling people like, hey, it's time to get off the roads. We got to open these back up for traffic and stuff. But it wasn't like a rushed thing either. They were just giving people a heads up, and if there was a crowd of people, you'd have a cop come up to you and be like, hey, listen, you guys, if you can go to the sidewalk, we're gonna try to open the roads now and stuff. So I think it was technically 12, but they knew it was going to take because of like you said, how congested it was and things.
Yeah.
That it was going to take a while for them to clear out, so they kind of took their time pushing everybody out. So yeah, I guess there was a cutoff time, but it wasn't really stuck to.
Yeah.
So
what was Richmond like after the rally?
I mean, for me, I left Richmond right after the rally because I was staying with somebody in the next county over. So once we were out, I mean, we just walked back to our cars and threw our stuff in our cars and just left. There was no, there wasn't anybody trying to pull us over. There was no roadblocks or anything. It was just, the day was over, so we got out of there.
Yeah. What about for you, Bob?
I pretty much got out of there too. I'm all the way out in Ohio, so I had to get out. I had a plane flight coming back that night, so I went and had some lunch at a little place right outside of downtown. It was dead as could be. The
Really?
bartender mentioned something about that it happened to be dead just today. And then I got my ass to the airport and got on a flight home.
Because I was just imagining the restaurants and the bars absolutely full to capacity. And I could see that causing some problems. I guess my last question is, did y'all get to meet the Barrett guy?
I saw him walking around. I didn't get to meet him. I didn't get to go up and shake his hand. I wanted to, but I was talking to some reporters then, so I didn't get to just break off and do that. But I saw him walking around, and he had a smile on his face. He had like that goofy, dorky smile on his face the entire time I saw him, man. So I think he had that. He was just smiling the whole time because he knew that was some big dick energy having to carry a 30-pound Barrett around all day.
Yeah. Did you get to meet him, Bob?
Again, I seen him go by a couple different times, and I actually tried to get close to him to give him a sticker, but he was either surrounded by people all the time or he was moving somewhere else, which again was surprising. He was moving around most of the day, carrying that sweet ass gun around.
Yeah, he was the belle of the ball. Well, I want to thank y'all for coming on the podcast. Y'all are actually our first guests. We haven't had any guests before.
Oh, well, I appreciate you having us on, man. I mean,
I feel honored.
So, y'all can find Bob on Instagram at hang'em4freedom, all one word, hang M for freedom. And you can find Trigi on Instagram at TrigiConch and on Twitter at TrigiConfucius. And all of these will be on the show notes page at dissectingliberty.com/3, including some articles that I cited at the beginning. Again, thank y'all so much for coming on. I appreciate it a lot.
Can I make a shout out to my podcast?
Oh, absolutely.
I also have a podcast. It's called the E-Militia. It's a group of about 8 of us now. bunch of anarchists. We basically do the same thing, try to be informative. You can find us on just about anything that has podcasts. You can check out Anchor. That'll give you a list of everywhere you can listen to it. And thank you very much for having me on.
My pleasure. Is there anything you want to shout out, Trigi?
No, for one, I just want to thank you for having us on, Cotton. I mean, any way that we can get the word out and just, show that this is a positive event, any more than the posts already do, that's a win for us. But I guess just I'm continuing to post more stuff for Virginia because this is just the beginning of this fight. So I'm continuing to post more stuff, and there's more that's going to come. Just trucking through this and trying to beat this legislation or nullify this legislation, etc. And then I'm also trying to get information out for other states, and that's mostly on my Instagram. I'm not a fan of Twitter. Every time I go on Twitter, I get a headache. So it's mostly on Instagram. So that's where you're going to get most of your information from me. And again, I appreciate you having us on.
Oh, my pleasure, man. Thank y'all so much.
No problem, man.